The elevator doors slammed shut with a metallic thud at exactly 2:17 a.m., sealing Finn and Alexander inside the deserted downtown Chicago high-rise. 1 second they were laughing about the late-night client pitch that had kept them working past midnight, and the next the lights flickered. The car lurched to a stop between the 23rd and 24th floors, and the emergency panel glowed red like a warning. "Great," Finn muttered, running a hand through his tousled brown hair as he pressed the alarm button for the third time. Just what we needed after the day from hell. Alexander leaned against the mirrored wall, his sharp jaw tightening under the dim overhead light, dark eyes reflecting a calm that Finn had always envied. "Relax, man. Building security will have us out in 20 minutes. We've survived worse." But 20 minutes became an hour, and the silence between them thickened with every passing tick of Finn's watch. They had been best friends since freshman orientation at Northwestern 8 years ago. Finn, the quiet architecture grad who sketched skylines on napkins. Alexander, the razor-sharp corporate lawyer who could talk his way out of anything. Tonight, though, the small talk about weekend plans and fantasy football drafts ran dry fast. Finn paced the 5-by-7-foot space, sneakers squeaking on the polished tile, while Alexander slid down to sit on the floor, long legs stretched out. "You ever think about how weird life gets when you're not looking?" Alexander asked suddenly, voice low. Finn stopped mid-step, sensing the shift. "What do you mean?" Alexander stared at the ceiling, the city lights of the loop twinkling far below through the glass panel like scattered diamonds. "Like how you plan everything. Career, family, the whole script. And then one random night the elevator stops and you realize the script was never yours to begin with." Finn's stomach tightened. He had known Alexander long enough to hear the weight behind the words, but he laughed it off anyway, the way he always did when conversations turned too real. "Dude, you're just tired. We'll laugh about this tomorrow over coffee." Yet the longer they sat there, the air growing warmer and the city humming faintly outside, the more Finn felt the invisible line between them beginning to blur. Alexander's knee brushed his accidentally, and neither of them moved it away. By the time the emergency phone finally crackled to life with a bored security voice promising rescue soon, Finn already knew this night had cracked something open he wasn't ready to name. Hours dragged on, the elevator a steel and glass cage suspended above the sleeping city. Alexander pulled a half-empty water bottle from his messenger bag and passed it over without a word. Finn took a sip, the plastic cool against his palm, and watched his friend's profile in the low light. Strong nose, the faint scar above his eyebrow from a college lacrosse game, the way his black hair fell across his forehead when he tilted his head back. They had shared everything over the years, apartments, breakups, the death of Alexander's mom 2 summers ago. Yet something in Alexander's voice tonight carried an edge Finn had never heard. "Remember that trip to Aspen senior year?" Alexander asked, eyes still on the ceiling. "When we got snowed in at the cabin and stayed up talking till dawn?" Finn nodded, smiling at the memory. "You swore you'd never date anyone seriously because work came first." Alexander turned then, dark eyes locking onto Finn's with an intensity that made the small space feel even smaller. "I lied that night. I was already falling for someone I couldn't have." The words landed heavy between them. Finn's pulse jumped. "Who?" Alexander didn't blink. "You, Finn. It's always been you." The confession hung there, raw and undeniable, as the emergency lights buzzed overhead. Finn's mind reeled, flashes of late nights studying together, Alexander's hand on his shoulder during tough times, the way his chest had tightened whenever Alexander brought dates around. He had told himself it was just friendship, just loyalty. Now the truth stared back at him in the form of the man he trusted most. "You're joking," Finn whispered, but his voice cracked. Alexander shook his head slowly. "I wish I was. I've spent years watching you chase the life your parents wanted. The perfect straight son, the corner office, the girl next door. And every time I almost said something, I backed off because I didn't want to lose you." The elevator groaned faintly, as if echoing the tension. Finn stood up too fast, shoulder bumping the wall. "Alex, I've never," but the denial tasted wrong on his tongue. Outside, a siren wailed far below, slicing through the quiet. Alexander stayed seated, calm as ever. "You don't have to say anything tonight. Just know that when those doors open, I'm still your best friend." Nothing changes unless you want it to. Finn slid down beside him again, knees almost touching, the city lights blurring through the glass. For the first time in his life, the script he had followed so carefully felt like it was written in a language he no longer understood. Dawn crept over Lake Michigan by the time the rescue crew pried the doors open on the 23rd floor. Finn stepped out first, legs unsteady after 6 hours trapped, the cool hallway air hitting him like freedom and punishment at once. Alexander followed, clapping the lead technician on the back with his usual easy charm, cracking a joke that had the whole crew laughing. On the street below, the early commuters already hurried past with coffee cups and earbuds, oblivious to the earthquake that had just hit Finn's world. They grabbed an Uber back to their shared apartment in Lincoln Park, the ride silent except for the driver's radio. Once inside, Finn headed straight for the shower, letting the hot water pound against his shoulders while his mind spun. Alexander's confession replayed on loop, the steady gaze, the quiet honesty, the way it had cracked open a door Finn had nailed shut years ago. By the time he emerged in sweatpants, Alexander was at the kitchen island making eggs, same as any other Saturday. "You okay?" he asked without turning around. Finn nodded, grabbing orange juice from the fridge. "Yeah, just processing." They ate in companionable silence, the kind that had always felt safe. But now every glance carried new weight. Later that morning, Finn's phone buzzed, his mother calling from Indianapolis. "Sweetheart, your cousin's engagement party is next month. You'll bring that nice girl from accounting, right? Your father keeps asking when you're settling down." Finn forced a laugh, the familiar pressure squeezing his chest. "Mom, I'm focused on work right now." He hung up and caught Alexander watching him from the couch, dark eyes soft with understanding. The rest of the weekend passed in a haze of avoidance. Finn burying himself in blueprints at the office, Alexander working late on a merger. Monday brought the first crack. Their mutual friend Marcus from lacrosse days texted the group chat. "Heard you two lovebirds got stuck together all night. Spill the tea." Finn stared at the screen, heat rising up his neck. He deleted the message, but the seed was planted. By Wednesday, whispers followed him in the break room. Alexander pulled him aside after a team meeting. "Ignore it. People talk." But Finn couldn't ignore the knot in his stomach or the way his father's voice echoed in his head from their last visit. "A real man provides for a family, son. No detours." That night, alone in his room, Finn stared at the ceiling and whispered the question he had been dodging since the elevator. What if Alexander was right about both of us? The rumor mill at the firm spun faster than Finn could keep up. By Friday, Marcus cornered him in the parking garage. "Look, I'm not judging, but you and Alex? Come on, man. Your dad would lose his mind." Finn's hands clenched around his keys. "It's not like that." Marcus shrugged, but the smirk said otherwise. "Whatever you say. Just thought you should know the partners are talking too." The betrayal stung deeper than Finn expected. Marcus had been the one to drag them both to every tailgate and bachelor party, the buffer that kept everything feeling normal. Now he was the first to twist the knife. That evening, Alexander found Finn on the balcony, city wind whipping his hair. "You've been quiet all week." Finn turned, the words spilling out before he could stop them. Marcus told everyone. "My parents keep calling about marriage." "I can't breathe, Alex." Alexander stepped closer, close enough that Finn caught the faint scent of his cologne, something clean and woodsy that always grounded him. "Then stop running. Tell me what you feel." The question hung between them like the elevator doors that night. Finn's heart hammered. He thought of every Sunday dinner back home, his father's proud smile when he brought home straight-A report cards and football trophies. He thought of Alexander's steady presence through every crisis. "I feel scared. And alive. Like I've been living in someone else's story." Alexander's hand brushed his arm, gentle, no demand. "Then write your own. I'm right here." But fear won that night. Finn pulled away, muttering something about needing air, and spent the next 3 days crashing on a coworker's couch. When he finally returned home Sunday night, Alexander's bedroom door was closed, a single duffel bag by the front door. A note on the counter read, "Taking the Chicago job offer in New York. You deserve space. Call if you ever want to talk." Finn sank to the floor, the paper trembling in his hands. The man who had always been his constant was gone, and the emptiness felt bigger than the city outside. 2 weeks blurred into a fog of missed calls and half-finished sketches. Finn threw himself into the new museum project, staying at the office until the cleaning crew arrived each night. His mother left voicemails about the engagement party. His father sent articles about traditional values. Each one landed like another brick in the wall he had built around himself. Then came the turning point. On a rainy Thursday, Finn's boss pulled him into the conference room. "We're restructuring. Alexander's move left a gap, and frankly, some clients have questions about personal matters." The implication was clear. Finn walked out numb, the rain soaking through his jacket as he stood on Michigan Avenue. He pulled out his phone and dialed the number he had avoided for 14 days. Alexander answered on the second ring, voice steady despite the background noise of New York traffic. "Finn, I'm sorry," Finn said, the words cracking. "I was scared. I still am. But losing you scares me more." Silence stretched, then Alexander exhaled. "I'm on the next flight back. We'll figure it out together." The next 48 hours felt like a film reel on fast forward. Alexander landed at O'Hare, duffel in hand, and they drove straight to Finn's parents' house in Indianapolis without a plan. The confrontation in the living room was brutal. His father's raised voice, his mother's tears, the old family photos on the mantel staring down like judges. "This isn't the life we raised you for," his father said. Finn stood tall beside Alexander, shoulders touching. "It's the life I'm choosing." When they drove back to Chicago that night, the weight on Finn's chest had lightened even if the road ahead remained uncertain. Alexander reached over the console and laced their fingers together for the first time in the open. The simple touch felt like the elevator doors opening all over again. Only this time Finn stepped through willingly. Months later the city looked different, brighter somehow. Finn and Alexander stood on the same balcony where everything had nearly ended, the October wind carrying the scent of lake water and roasted chestnuts from the street fair below. The firm had kept Finn after all, once the whispers faded and results spoke louder. Alexander's new role kept him in Chicago, and together they had faced the fallout. Awkward family dinners that slowly warmed, Marcus's half-hearted apology over beers, the quiet pride in Finn's mother's eyes the first time she met Alexander properly. There had been nights of doubt, mornings when Finn still woke up wondering if he had ruined everything his parents dreamed for him. But every time, Alexander was there, steady, patient, reminding him that love wasn't a detour, it was the destination. They had sacrificed comfort for truth, friendships for honesty, and in return found a version of themselves neither had dared to imagine. Finn turned to Alexander now, the man who had waited years in silence, and pulled him close under the string lights they had hung together. "Thank you for not giving up on me," he whispered. Alexander smiled, the same smile that had started it all in that trapped elevator. Never. Below them, the city pulsed with life, cars honking, laughter drifting up from sidewalks, strangers chasing their own stories. Finn realized then that the script he once feared rewriting had become the most beautiful chapter of his life. As they stood there, foreheads touching, the future stretched out wide and uncharted, full of possibility. Was risking everything for love the only way to finally become who you were meant to be, true or false?